Hello, I'm Steve Kime with the City of Enid. Thank you for joining us today for Ask the Candidate. My special guest today, joining us here at the Enid Television Network studios, Kevin Stitt. Kevin from Tulsa, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, Kevin, welcome to Enid. Thanks for being with us today.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
And we have a few questions for you and give you an opportunity to speak to the folks here in Northwest Oklahoma. So we appreciate you making Enid a priority and Northwest Oklahoma a priority. So.
Absolutely. We've been here 4 or 5 times. Love the community. It's one of my favorite places to visit. You guys have a great community here.
Thank you. Well, Kevin, right off the bat, I've talked to a variety of individuals in the community and across the state, and when they reflect on the past legislative session, they just kind of shake their head or do this, and they just kind of wonder what was that. And it seemed like the main theme was, can't we just get along? So with the Stitt administration as governor,
yes,
what would you do to get everybody to work together, you know, both sides, to really push the state forward?
Sure. You know, that's kind of why I'm running for governor. In business, we have to work together. I've got 1,200 employees at my company, and you can't just run over your head of IT or your head of sales or your general counsel. You've got to learn to bring people together. So I haven't been in politics, and I don't understand. I'm as frustrated as anybody. That's why I'm running for governor. And I've reached out to all 101 House members and all 48 senators. I've started having lunch and dinner with them, and I ask every one of them, how can I do a better job? And they all tell me, have a plan and meet with us. Come hang out with us on the 4th floor. The problem is the legislature has a tough job. And that's why you see them throwing in 2,000 bills in every single direction. We have to lead from the executive branch. And that's what I've been doing my entire career in the private sector. And so I'm excited to get in there. And that's why I think it's going to take an outsider to bring everybody together from both sides of the aisle.
Kevin, as a candidate for governor, and as you've said and qualified yourself as this business leader and company owner, if you will, what can we do in your administration to enhance the attraction for the Fortune 100s and the Fortune 500s? Those organizations across this country would want to, say, relocate or branch out into Oklahoma. With your business background, what would you do to promote that? That yes, Oklahoma is that ultimate destination.
Absolutely. You know, we have, to me, Oklahoma has the best location of any state in the entire country. We are dead center located in the middle of the U.S. And I love what's happening nationally. The economy is really starting to take off. And there's a move now to bring manufacturing back to the U.S., to repatriate dollars. I believe we've got a great opportunity over the next 10 years to capture that growth. We are centrally located, like I said. We should be #1 in manufacturing, #1 in distribution. We've got all the land, the natural resources. We just need a business leader as governor, somebody that understands how to recruit businesses, how to cut red tape, and how to get our state growing again. And, you know, specifically, I'm going to expand commerce. We used to have a commerce department that was located in higher tax states, even overseas. We don't do that. We only have one office, and their idea of marketing our state is waiting for the phone to ring. I'll do things totally different by expanding commerce, but I know we can get our state growing again.
As a businessman, I'm sure you're quite confident that you're concerned about waste in your organization. And here recently, in the last few months, most of us that have tuned into the news was well aware or introduced to a lot of wasteful spending and some funding that went awry, if you will, in our state agency. As governor, what would you do to address, first off, wasteful spending?
Yeah. So you know, we spend $22 billion in our state. We have 120 different agencies, and the election is in 27. I don't know when this is going to air. In 27 days from today. All right, we're fixed to turn over a $22 billion budget to the next governor. And we're going to either turn it over to somebody that has never hired anybody or set strategy or balanced a budget, or we're going to turn it over to a business person, somebody that's been doing this in their entire career. It's totally different. I've got, I manage $17 billion in servicing of loans. We have 165 offices. I know how to manage things. And whether you're the governor or the CEO, you can't dig into the weeds on every single different issue. You've got to be able to manage. That's why it's going to take a business leader. If we don't get control of this $22 billion, what happens is they continue to rob from this department and spend it over here and borrow here and spend it here. And we saw that in the Department of Health. They lost $30 million. They were in dire straits. They had to lay off 200 people, right? They couldn't, they were just in turmoil. So then we had an investigation for the next 6 months, and then last week it just came out, they actually found the $30 million. It was in a slush fund. And I'm more confused than ever. And if we don't get control of that budget, then rural Oklahoma, all of Oklahoma suffers because we can never fund the things we need to fund. As conservatives, I know I've got to deliver services to our citizens. Let's just do it effectively and efficiently, better than everybody else. That's what's so frustrating for me and in all 77 counties as I've been traveling, is why are we 48th in this category and #1 in female incarceration? That's why I'm running for governor, because I don't think that the career politicians are going to do anything different, or they would have already done it.
Kevin, as you mentioned, and we'll remind the viewers as well, that this program will air the weekend before the primary on June 26th. So the weekend before, everybody will have the opportunity to see.
Well, it'll be real close then when they see this.
You have traveled across the state, I'm quite confident, probably to all 77 counties, and met great Oklahomans all the way from Elk City to Henrietta and Hugo to the big city of Veneta and everybody in between.
Sure.
Even my home city of Perry, Oklahoma.
Gloria there at the paper. I've met with her several times.
Yes, very good. And speaking of Gloria, and many Oklahomans across the state, strong moral character and the fabric of this great state, and bring a lot of great character qualities to all across Oklahoma. Kevin, what do you bring as in work ethic, character, the fabric of Oklahoma? What will you bring personally to this office of governor?
Sure. Well, I'll just tell you a little bit about my background. So I'm a 4th generation Oklahoman, and my hero was my granddad, who had an 8th grade education and was a dairy farmer in Skiatook, Oklahoma. So anytime I feel sorry for myself that I'm working too hard,
milk some cows.
I think of Granddad, who never got a day off and literally had to get up at 3 in the morning every single day of his life. And so that's the work ethic that I have. But you know, being a pastor's son and giving my heart to the Lord at an early age, you know, those are my values: honesty, integrity. And you don't create a company like I did with $1,000 in a computer and live the American dream. And now we employ 1,200 people. We make payroll for 1,200 people every single week by not doing things the right way. But you know, honesty, integrity, and those things are a given in my book. So I want to talk about the values that you look for in a leader. And that is, you know, growth oriented. I am growth oriented, having a get it done attitude. Nobody rolls up their sleeves and has a get it done attitude more than me, because here's the deal. We can all get cynical and think, is there anything going to really change in our state government? But the future doesn't just happen. We make our own future, and we're either going to choose in a week when they see this more of the same, or we're going to choose a brighter future. And I have a vision for our state to be a top 10 state. Top 10 in growth, top 10 in education, and top 10 in infrastructure. So I want you to know, as governor, you'll never have anybody that outworks me. I'm a team player. I know how to get along with people. And then I use something saying that I'm street smart. What I mean by that is, not everything is a draw a line in the sand decision. We always want to make the right decisions for Oklahomans, right? That's what we can make, the right decisions when we get in there, and that's what I want to do as governor.
Speaking of street smart, one of the topics that was given to me in preparation for this interview, a couple of things that were near and dear to people were roadways and bridges, their safety, the upgrade, the maintenance. In your administration, how would you provide for the maintenance of roads, and especially here in northwest Oklahoma? A lot of truck traffic, a lot of wind turbine traffic, just a lot of traffic in general. And just like any other interstate area, we need safe bridges and roads. What would you do to keep that funding in place?
Absolutely. Well, it starts with a goal and a vision. And so my goal is to be top 10 in infrastructure. Infrastructure is so important to the fabric of Oklahoma. That's what creates economic development. I built an 86,000 square foot building in Tulsa. Where did we build that? We built that right off Highway 75, because that's where the infrastructure was. Infrastructure creates the economy. So I want to be top 10 in that. And I want to touch real quick on being street smart, because I've met with these county commissioners all over our state, and they tell me, Kevin, we could build a bridge in our county that would cost us $250,000. Once we go through all the red tape and the bidding process that's required by us, it ends up costing that same bridge $750,000. That is what I'm talking about. A business person gets rid of red tape and regulation so we can let the local counties, the local communities do what they need to do. That's what I want to do as governor. And so if we don't get control of that budget, what happens is they continue to borrow money from this area, like ODOT. Everybody thought, the county commissioners thought there was $250 million missing. Well, they found out that the legislature just stole it and spent it, not stole it, but they appropriated it somewhere else, and so it didn't come back to the local counties. That'll change in a Stitt administration because I'll have control of those 120 agencies, and we'll make sure we have performance metrics in place, and we fund those things like we need to.
Kevin, there's been a topic that I've been approached by numerous times. They're just not clear, and it's on the medical marijuana issue. Mm-hmm. They're not clear about what House Bill 788, I believe that's the number, and they're just not clear what medical marijuana and Oklahoma have to do with each other. So can you just share with us your views on medical marijuana and also on this House Bill 788?
Sure. So my deal is, if a doctor is prescribing a medicine to a patient, I'm not going to get in the way of that. That's between the doctor and their patient, okay? So I support medical marijuana if a doctor prescribes that for a patient. Recreational marijuana is a different story. We cannot go there in our state. That would put our state in too many unintended consequences. I look at things that are if it's still illegal federally, then that puts our state in too many unintended consequences. Colorado is struggling in their banking system, the employers and how you have to do drug testing. All those unintended consequences, I think, would affect our state. So I'm going to make sure if 788 passes, and that's the will of the people, then I'll be able to regulate it. We'll set up the proper regulation to make sure that it truly is only for medical uses, and then we'll hold the doctors accountable to make sure that's exactly what it's prescribed for.
And again, we encourage people to do the research on the ballot, all the questions, and also on all the candidates. And again, as we remind you, the primary is coming up on Tuesday, June 26th. So do your research and be prepared. Be, as they say, a Boy Scout, and be prepared to vote. Kevin, as you know, as you've traveled across the state, you've probably seen a lot of wind turbines. They continue to show up. And there was a story on the national scene that the wind industry seemed to be, well, the discussion was, it was impacting this Air Force base in Texas. It was just getting too close to each other. And as the wind energy continues to develop in Oklahoma, Oklahoma is a military state. Vance Air Force Base, very important to the city of Enid. As governor, what would you do to promote, I guess, unity? How can we all get together and work together to remain a military state, yes, but also work with wind energy? How would that work under your administration?
Sure. Well, first off, I'll work with the federal delegation to make sure that they have the right laws, so we keep all of our military bases here. That is the priority for me. Vance Air Force Base is such a huge asset to this community and also Oklahoma that I'd make sure that nothing ever happened to that. And as a pilot, I've got 2,700 hours. I actually flew in today into the Enid Airport. Love aviation. So I get that, and I understand the airspace issues and what we need to protect there. So I'll make sure that happens. And then I understand the private ownership rights and make sure we work together because we cannot allow the development to come into where they have training runs and it messes with our Air Force Base, because we have got to protect that asset here in our state.
Well, I'm sure as you've traveled across western Oklahoma, you've sensed how dry it can be. Or if you look out there and say, boy, it hadn't rained in a long time. It's amazing the difference in the amount of rain in our great state of Oklahoma. The eastern part of the state seems to get a lot more than we do. Therefore, water is very important, and here in Enid we call water the new gold. And the city of Enid has embarked on a project to develop a pipeline, 72 miles from Call Lake over by Ponca City all the way to Enid. And it's an attractive project to surrounding communities thinking, wow, we can have a dependable source of water here for our community. However, a very expensive price tag, $300+ million possibly for a pipeline project for a little city of Enid, if you will, to handle all that, to get water here. As governor, what would you say the state's role in financing or help or any assistance, however you want to label that, for the Enids that are looking for that new goal,
Yeah.
water.
Well, first off, I want to commend the city of Enid for having that forethought and developing that water rights. So it's really a local decision. So they've done a great job thinking out 50 years, because you're right, I think water is going to become more and more important. As governor, I'll step in and help however I need to. So if we need to help with bonding authority and that infrastructure laid throughout our state, that's so important to me, because we've got to have the right infrastructure, because I'm planning on growing this thing. We will put metrics in place, and I will say, hey, judge me from these metrics. I've got kind of 5 pillars that I want to lead with, and we'll put those out there, because we are going to grow our state. We're going to grow Enid, we're going to grow Western Oklahoma, we're going to grow Oklahoma City, we're going to grow Southeast Oklahoma, and so infrastructure, roads, water, that's going to be all important, and we'll have a master plan.
Kevin, this is the opportunity in our interview where no more questions, and this is an opportunity for you to visit with our viewers and voters here in Northwest Oklahoma and just speak from your heart at the camera right there.
Sure,
and
sure.
just take your time.
Sure, absolutely. Well, thank you first for having me here. I really appreciate it. Thank you guys for being involved in this election. You know, just a little bit about my story. I grew up in Norman, and Dad was a pastor there. And then I did not want to go to school in the same hometown I grew up in, so I ended up going to Stillwater for college, got an accounting degree, moved to Tulsa, and that's where I met my wife, Sarah. We've been married now 20 years, and we have 6 children, from 17 down to 4. And I got into the mortgage business shortly after college, started my company, Gateway Mortgage Group, with $1,000 in a computer. Today, we now employ over 1,200. And so I've lived the American dream. And I am concerned about our state. The reason I'm running for governor is because when I travel and I visit our other offices down in Texas and Arkansas and Tennessee and Colorado, I just see all this momentum coming out of these other states. And I get so frustrated when I come back to Oklahoma and I see our state, the state that I love and I grew up in, down in the dumps. And so I know we can do so much better in our state. And then I look at who's running for governor, and when I look at who's running, it just looks like more of the same to me, just the career politicians running for their next election. And so I want to take off from my company, go serve my state, focus on the next generation and not the next election. And I think if all the folks I'm running against are nice folks, but if we keep electing the same people, I just don't think anything different is going to happen. And we have too good of a state. So my vision is that we're a top 10 state, top 10 in growth, top 10 in education, and top 10 in infrastructure. And I'm going to lead us there and focus on that next generation. So check us out at stittforgovernor.com, and I'd love to get you involved. I think we're a week away now once you'll be watching this. So let's go win this. Make sure you get out and vote. Tell all your friends about us. Thank you so much.
Kevin Stitt, thank you for being here in Enid today. We appreciate it very much and wish you well.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us as well on Ask the Candidate. Again, our special guest this afternoon, Kevin Stitt, Republican for the governor's race for the great state of Oklahoma. So again, thanks for joining us. I'm Steve Kine with the City of Enid. Until next time, make it a great day, and thanks for watching.